to Reconnect. It's kind of like a follow-up webcast this week. Yes, a prequel. We're following up on the adventures of Alexis and the journey to get to Miami. And we just to kind of recap a little bit, we did a previous kind of webcast with you, Alexis, and it was so awesome. It's like the reaction. I'm actually sharing it with people to kind of inspire them to kind of
to buy,
follow to follow in your footsteps. But Alexis started a number of years ago, maybe, what is it, 6 years ago? Was it?
Yeah, 2014.
2014, 6 years ago, with the purchase of a one-bedroom condo in San Francisco. And then we parlayed that one-bedroom condo into a single-family home that needed some, love and attention. And you then went and added value to that. And now you've parlayed that into a condo on the 52nd floor.
Yes.
Moving on up, Alexis, literally.
Exactly.
Damn.
Incredible. So Alexis, it's awesome. So we've made it we've gone full circle now, and we want to get a tour. We want to see the view. We want to hear just kind of what it's like in Miami and all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, they're obviously taking the pandemic very seriously here, which is good. Everyone's wearing masks and stuff like that, which is great. So it's not quite as, I was a little nervous kind of, when it all kind of closed about coming, but, everyone's wearing them in the buildings, and there's hand sanitizer stations everywhere. And, so hopefully, things it won't be too bad. It's just going to be a little bit rough probably for the next sort of 4 to 6 months, but, what can you do? Other than that, there's a lot of outside dining open here, which is great because it's a city that's already set up for outside dining. So, a lot of those restaurants are open, and so there's still activity and things going on, and, people are walking around and stuff like that. So it's pretty nice. Yeah, it's a lot different to San Francisco.
And what's the real estate market in Miami right now? It's
still doing well. So part of my reasoning for buying in this particular area, Brickell, is because they overbuilt here back in 2016, 2017. So prior to 2015, there was a really big property boom here, and so the values were going up, and then they just brought a lot of condo buildings on the market. You can see there's loads of them here.
That view looks amazing.
They just overbuilt, and so
the
prices dropped a lot, over the last few years, which was another reason why I decided to kind of buy now, because I thought it was a good time to buy in this area. So eventually the inventory will all get bought up, I suppose, and hopefully the values will start to go up. But you'd get for about a third of the money, you'd get a similar apartment that you would get maybe in San Francisco, assuming you could find one this size. It's just like 1,450 square feet inside, and it's a 200 square foot terrace. So
palatial.
Wow.
What's that?
Wow.
It's palatial for us.
It's big. It's very big. I don't even know if you could get apartments that size in San Francisco. But here, I'll show you the view properly.
Show us the view there. Wow.
That's into downtown Miami. That's out into the Atlantic. That's Biscayne Bay, and Biscayne Key is down there. That's one of the more exclusive neighborhoods in the whole state. Actually, it's a very, very, very fancy neighborhood.
Isn't Star Island over there too?
Yeah, is that where the island is that I've been reading about, that you have to drive across?
That's a different area, but that's also here. That's another very exclusive zip code too. So but yeah, it's beautiful waking up to that. And
how many floors are on this building that you're there? You're in the 52nd, so towards the top.
I'm very near the top. I originally looked at a unit on the 56th floor, which was one from the top, basically. it was this exact unit, just 4 stories up. But there's 57 floors altogether, and the top 2 units, what they call them, the penthouse suites, are like 2,000 square feet, and they're like, they have 2 floors in them, and they're listed at about 1.6 million for those ones, which is still not terrible, But
No.
the only downside is the taxes are a little higher here, obviously because they don't have income tax, so they have to get their money somehow. So it's more like 1.5 to 1.6%. So you'd be paying for like a $1.5 million apartment, you'd be paying like $28,000 in taxes. That's the downside of buying something at that price point here.
Which is actually for people here, a lot of people don't realize that if you go and buy in the East Bay here in the Bay Area, you're going to be paying taxes like that. San Francisco, that's, while we are a very expensive area, San Francisco in general tends to be on the lower side of the scale on property taxes. So
yeah, exactly. I'll be paying right about the same property taxes for this as I was paying for my house in San Francisco, give or take. They do also have like a homesteading provision here, which you can apply for. So you get like a discount off the actual appraised value, and then it can only go up by 3% every year thereafter. It's similar to the proposition. I don't know what it is.
13. Yeah. Prop 13. Look,
and if you're not a resident,
you're only a week or 2 out of California, and you've already forgotten about all the things you need to remember. Proposition 13.
Yeah. So that's good, because the values were swinging kind of a lot over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. So they've all kind of come down. So obviously all the appraisals are going down for all the condos, which is good. So hopefully I'll get set at a lower rate, and then I'll be locked in hopefully once I do the homesteading exemption next year.
Okay. Good. And then to homestead, you have to own or occupy. So if you were buying
Correct.
it as a speculative rental, you wouldn't be able to do that.
It's 10%. So it's capped at 10% for everybody else, basically.
Okay.
What are the rules? Do you know the rules in terms of short-term rentals there? And
so this building is called Icon Brickell. It's a pretty famous development. It's actually, funnily enough, I don't know if I told you this on the last call, but the same architect designed this building as the condo building that I bought in San Francisco out of some bizarre.
That's crazy.
What was his name? He was a Chilean. He was from Chile, right?
Berlusconi or something like that, I think his name was. I've forgotten his name now.
He was Chilean.
Yeah, it's the same architect that designed this building, this development. There's 3 towers in this development, and then 2 of the towers are more long-term residences, so you can only do a 6-month lease or longer. And then there's a 3rd tower which is got a hotel in there. I think it's a W, and then up above it's short-term Airbnb rentals. So you if you buy on that building, you can rent out your apartment. But I stayed in that building when I came to look at apartments back in January, and that one is very there's a lot of people coming and going, and it's not somewhere where you'd want to live. But if you're only going to be here like part-time, it'd be perfect, because then you could rent out your unit when you're not around. But this floor only has 11 units on it, so it's just very rarely anyone outside or on the floor, if that makes sense.
awesome.
Wow, that's all. And so what are your initial thoughts being a transplant from the Bay Area into Miami and Florida so far?
I mean, but the biggest thing that drove me out of San Francisco really was just the quality of life issues, and sometimes with all the the city and being a bit kind of disorganized and not being able to afford to maybe live in a nicer neighborhood there because it was so expensive. So here, this is like a very, very nice neighborhood, which is great. So it's it's nice outside, and everything's manicured and clean, and there's lots of people out walking their dogs, and it's just a good feel to the neighborhood, if that makes sense. So it's very different to San Francisco, at least the part I lived in.
What about your internet connection? Because you're going to work remotely from there, right?
Yes, exactly. I've started. I quit my job in San Francisco back in late February, which ironically probably wasn't the best decision that I've done, because they you know, they would have been happy to relocate me here and keep me working remotely, but I wanted to take some time off and just, you know, to compress and deal with the move and everything. So now I'll start looking. So now I've started to interview with consulting companies and things like that. But yeah, the software engineering work you can do from anywhere. So it makes sense to be in a place with no income tax. And then obviously, for when the economy gets better, Miami International is an extremely well-connected airport. So you can literally get anywhere in the country from there. And there's direct flights to most major European cities from MIA too, which is, you know, great. And it's only 15 minutes away from here in an Uber. So so that'll work in my favor eventually. But yeah, the internet here is perfect. Yeah, I'm getting gigabit internet. It's actually included in the HOA, the basic internet. And for an extra $30 a month, you can get fiber, which is great. So
wow,
that should hopefully mean I'll be able to do a decent amount of engineering work without too much problems.
Yeah, and then with for the building, there's probably facilities there with the building, but they're not open. But what facilities will you have when the pandemic passes?
It's I mean, they're all closed right now, obviously. But I think it's the largest private pool. I think in the state or maybe in the country. I'm not actually sure. There's some crazy statistic about it. It's about it's longer. It's bigger than an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And you know, it kind of goes in through the middle of the three buildings. It's a beautiful recreation deck area. Like, it's huge. And there's like there's a big long lap pool, and then there's like a smaller kids pool, and then there's like a giant hot tub which you could get hundreds of people into, basically. And then there's obviously
sounds horrible right now. But
there's cabanas down there, and they'll bring you out food and drinks if you want, and you know, they give you towels, and you know, it's sort of like almost like a resort almost, if that makes sense.
So with your arrival, well, of course it's not open, but eventually you're gonna have to go down there, and everybody will be like, oh, there's a new Irish boy in the building, because you know,
exactly,
the tan won't be showing. So.
Exactly, yeah. No, it'll be nice to be able to hang out there eventually, and you know, the HOA here is about $1,100 a month, which, you know, it's not cheap, but it's, you know, considering I was paying nearly $500 condo.
Did we lose him?
Did we lose him?
Sorry about that. I got a phone call. With very little facilities, you know, it's twice the price, and you get there's a whole indoor spa area and indoor pools, and obviously a gym, and everything is here basically. So I feel like it's good value, and it includes obviously water and your internet and basic cable. So I think it's good value for what it is for HOA, you know.
Sounds like
awesome.
That hot tub alone, man. Yeah,
it's huge. It's a really big hot tub. Yeah, because when I came to visit back in January to look at apartments, I decided I'd stay in the building in the short-term tower, because I figured, well, that's a great way to get a feel for the place, you know. So that was a lot more fun, because some friends came, and you know, we enjoyed the week we were here, kind of chilling out by the pool and stuff like that. But hopefully it'll all come back soon.
Oh wow!
You know, fingers crossed.
It will.
Wow. Well, that's amazing, and you're awesome. Give us, I know you're going to do some work and stuff, but can we get do you think we can get a little look at the inside of the unit too?
Sure. Yeah. It's a little bit of a mess. I didn't know I was going to be showing you around, but anyway. So I'll hang on.
You wore your San Francisco 49ers hat anyway, so fair play.
Yeah, I still haven't gone to the hairdressers yet, because I'm still kind of nervous about going, but it's time. So this is the deck here. There's the dog. He's having fun.
Sorry, there's a dog.
So here, when did you get the puppy?
I got him up in Tahoe. Back in April.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Sorry, where is the dog? Am I missing the dog?
Here.
Yeah,
oh,
you're
it's
missing
tiny.
the dog. There's the puppy. Yeah.
Oh.
He's a mini.
I was like, is it in the box?
He's a mini Dachshund, so he's pretty small. So yeah, this is the inside of the unit. It's, like I said, it's 450 square feet, 1,450 square feet. So it's basically 100 square feet bigger than my house was, actually. So all my stuff should hopefully fit. Obviously, I don't have any of that stuff yet because it's coming in a couple of weeks, my furniture. So this is like the big room. That's where the TV will go eventually. The kitchen is nice and modern, so it's good for now, although it's full of all my stuff.
And then you've got a bedroom on the left side and a bedroom on the right side.
Exactly. This is a sort of like it's called the library/den area. So this is basically where I'll obviously set up my work, like my workspace and my desk and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be working from this. This will be my kind of corner for working when I eventually, you know, get back to some contracting work.
Organized.
And then it's a typical layout with the two bedrooms then on either side. This is the second bathroom, the guest bathroom in here. And then each of the bedrooms have a door out onto the balcony too, which is great. The bedrooms are about the same size as the bedrooms in my old house too in San Francisco, which is good. And there's a spare shower in there. And then on the other side, there's this is the master bedroom, which is slightly bigger. Again, I'm sleeping on an air mattress. It's quite ironic.
But look at that, and each room gets out onto the deck, huh?
Yes, exactly. Each room looks out onto the balcony, so I can wake up and stare out of that from bed, which is great.
Yeah, and there you are, right in front of you. Wow.
It has two huge closets. This is a 6x6, a similar size closet to the one in San Francisco, actually. I can turn the light on. So it's big. Again, I would like to redo all these closets and everything. I had a plan to do a renovation, but I figured it probably wasn't the time to be doing it right now. So I'll have to figure it out later.
All in good time.
And then this is the main bathroom in here, which it's really actually oversized and pretty big.
Wow.
And it has one of these, which is kind of fun. I mean, do people even put those in places anymore? Is that a fad that's gone out?
They're coming back into fashion. You know, everybody needs a bidet.
Well, they have I have a client right now on his must-have list, but also not. It's like his would love to have is a Japanese toilet.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I would get put in and maybe get rid of it and have more space in there. This is another closet in here where my guitar is sitting right now, and then that's a pretty decent size too. So all in all, it's perfect for me and a few guests. Hopefully, when people can start traveling again, I figured I'd start having a lot of visitors eventually.
So price per square foot on that place?
$497. Not terrible. $497 for the height and the view. It's not terrible. And it's so funny because when I was working with the agents here, they were explaining about like the little miniature markets within buildings. Like the certain corners and certain bits. I'm sure it's the same in San Francisco. With the modern like. There's there's units that are a similar size to this that are a lot cheaper, but they're on the 7th floor, or they don't have a nice view. So
they're on the other side of the building.
Exactly. Yeah. This particular side of this tower looks directly out onto the Atlantic. On the other side of the tower, it looks down into the pool area. But you also have great views of Port Miami from the far side of the building. And the other tower looks directly over onto Port Miami, which is kind of a cool view as well. It's just a different view, and you can see South Beach as well. But I actually favored this view because there's really no, it's very private, because there's nothing like, there's not all the buildings are quite far away, and you're not looking into it. Whereas on the interior parts of the development, you're kind of looking into each other's apartments. It's because that's where I stayed when I came in January. So it kind of looks, it's actually kind of fun. It's interesting watching all the lights go on and go off and all the different parts of the building and people wandering around, but it's not as private then as sort of something like this, if that makes sense. But yeah, so this was like $497. And then the unit next door, which is a very similar layout to this one. I think the owner did a lot of renovation work in there. There's new bathrooms and a new kitchen and everything, and she's trying to sell that one right now for close to $1 million. So I probably didn't do her any favors for comps. I'm sure she's not too happy with me.
We have a track record of your sales doing lots of people favors and your purchases not doing anybody any favors.
That's true, actually. Yeah, when I bought the house on Mission Street, the entire street, all the values dropped for like 6 months.
Yeah,
Which was kind of interesting. So
I got a few angry phone calls from a couple of agents who had clients living on the street. So
exactly.
But that's the way to do it. Well, here, Alexis, it's so awesome to be able to see you. I know with all of the things going on here, we got delayed a few times, and it was all the worry and stress that it would, we weren't going to make it across the finish line, but here we are. You're up in
Luckily,
the sky.
Luckily the buyers were super excited about the house, and I think it went to a really great set of buyers. They were super excited about it, and it's their first family home, and it was good to know that it's gone to somebody good, because it's definitely a change going from a single family back into a condo. But I mean, I've always wanted a modern high-rise condo, even from probably the first time I think we started talking to each other. But it just, in San Francisco, the reality was they were just so expensive that it just, I didn't quite have the money, or didn't want to take on the liability or the debt to do it there.
Well, the way you did it. Yeah, and the way you did it is excellent. So nope, you're living there, living the life. You're living the life.
You're an inspiration to us all here.
Exactly. Yeah.
All of us who have our little 1-bedroom condos in San Francisco.
Exactly.
You're the finish line.
It's nice to be sort of mortgage free, which is really another key part of the whole thing. It would have been nice to be mortgage free in San Francisco, but that would have taken another 15 years.
Hard thing to, yeah.
So do you feel like how long do you think you'll go before getting the itch to buy something again?
I'm depending on what kind of a work situation I end up in, I could see myself potentially buying a small place up in New York, maybe like a small 1-bed, and I would like come back and buy. I had, before the pandemic hit, I had a number of friends that were either living there or about to move there, and that all has kind of fallen by the wayside. So they've all scattered now. One of my friends has gone home to Denmark. Another one has gone home to Israel. It's just people are just scattering. So hopefully, if things come back, I would potentially try to do something up there, and then I would probably just furnish it and hopefully do like an Airbnb when I'm not there. That's probably what I'm considering, or potentially buying something back home in Ireland at some point in the not too distant future. So those are the two options that I'm thinking of.
Didn't your friend who's currently in Denmark, who we will hold his name, we won't because we're broadcasting all over the place, but he was telling me a story that he's working, or he was supposed to start for a company in New York whose headquarters is just down the street from where you are currently living in Miami.
That's correct.
And they are looking for somebody with your expertise, and he was hard at work trying to recruit you.
We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see about that. But yeah, it's there's a huge amount of like tech executives and people that are fleeing like California and New York because obviously there's no income tax here, so they can save a hell of a lot of money if they become residents here. You have to spend 6 months out of the year here to keep your tax status in the state. But for those higher earners, it makes a lot of sense. So you see a lot of that here. A lot of like CEOs and CFOs and things like that relocate here, and then they just would go up to work in New York or go over to work in California when they need to, kind of thing. So it's becoming a trend for sure.
Wow, cool. Well, you're amazing. I'm going to miss you, so you have to visit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be back. Don't worry, I will be back. Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of it. If I want to, if I miss San Francisco, which I'm sure I will eventually, I can just come back and rent a place for a month and hang out and see everyone that's there. If there's going to be anyone left there by the time that happens, of course, because it seems to be a mass exodus.
Don't be saying that. Don't be encouraging everybody. Don't be encouraging everybody to leave.
I mean, my friends, because a lot of my friends are international, so obviously they're taking the opportunity to go back home and visit family and stuff right now, because why not? That's more what I'm getting at. I don't mean I don't mean everyone.
Teasing you. I'm teasing
Art
you.
is not perfect, Alexis. Well, whether you like it or not, you're going to be our poster child for this process. So
definitely, it's definitely worth doing. It's I sort of trading down but up kind of, I don't know, it's a bit of a weird one, but this, when you can pretty much work from anywhere in the country, and especially now with the pandemic, it's a lot of other people are probably going to have the opportunity to move around a bit more. Maybe other people can move to other bits and
but
do it.
I think the summary is that you basically, you're able to work remotely. You had equity, you had a mortgage on your property in San Francisco, but you had equity, and you transferred that into a mortgage-free property in a no income tax state that has the sun shining, and you have a view on the 52nd floor. It's pretty awesome.
Exactly. So all I really need to do is just hopefully that when the pandemic passes, I'll just get out and meet people and learn some Spanish, basically, because there's not a lot of people talking English here. I'm not gonna lie, which is great. It's fun and it's really cool. But I think I'm gonna have to make a big effort to kind of get a lot better at Spanish, basically, living here, because it's very much a Latin American culture here, which is great. I think
awesome.
One of the things when people were asking me about why I was leaving San Francisco is that this was the most un-American city that I could find while still being in the country, almost. So it's because it's got so many different influences, and the food is really cool here, and it's the nightlife is late, and it's very 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 sort of Latin culture, which is something that coming from Europe I like, versus things tend to be a little bit more reserved and quiet in California, and things close a lot earlier and stuff like that. So.
Well, don't let people hear you in Florida outside of Miami say that it's un-American. Miami's like a different place altogether.
It's very cool. So we'll see how I get along here. And worst case scenario, if I hate it, it will be a great rental. Down the road.
And we'll welcome you back with open arms.
And we'll always welcome you back. Well, you're awesome. We miss you. And
thanks again for helping with everything. I know it was a very stressful process, but we got there in the end.
All part of the process. Not at all. It's anything for our poster child. You have laid the path that we are trying to send many upon.
I mean, it definitely makes sense, to if you're not sure, this is what I kept saying to my friends when I was in San Francisco, is I don't know if I want to stay here, but I don't want to be here 10 years and not at least have been putting money into something, whether it's an apartment or a house, because by the time I figure out whether I want to stay or not, 10 years have gone by. That's a lot of wasted rent, and so that's kind of why, if you're not 100% sure, then you should just kind of go for it, and get something as close to whatever you're paying in rent as possible, and pull the trigger.
And that's a great point, because that really is what holds a lot of people back. We have so many people who are from other areas who they're not sure. They're like, I'm only maybe going to be here for a couple of years, and suddenly 2 years is 7 years, and maybe they go after that period of time, but there's a lot of equity you can build up in a property in 7 years of time.
Exactly, yeah. And as long as they're going to be still sort of sticklers around planning and stuff in San Francisco, it's going to keep the values pretty inflated for the foreseeable future, because there's literally only so many houses and only so many apartments available at any given point in time there. And they this is a perfect example here in this particular bit of Miami, Brickell. They literally overbuilt and everything came down. So this whole argument about supply and demand is I've seen it in practice.
It's true.
Everything dropped 20-30% across the board here in this particular area, because there were so many new condos coming online in the more luxury buildings, and then the older ones were selling for a lot less, kind of thing. So it definitely works, but I don't see that happening anytime soon in San Francisco.
No, we've a ways to go yet. But hey, you're a rock star, and thank you. And I've been waiting for a long time to see that view. So thank you.
It's definitely beautiful. I'm going to enjoy looking at it, drinking my coffee in the mornings.
Well, You appreciate it, Alexis. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
No
Alexis.
problem. Great.
Yeah.
Enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys again soon, hopefully.
Cool.
We'll see you soon. We miss you already.
Enjoy.
All right. Take care. Bye. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.
I don't
Sean,
know,
how are you doing?
Hey,
Hey, what do
Sean.
you think of Miami? Huh?
Looks good to me. Time to go visit.
Damn. You know what he
Yeah.
didn't bring up, though, is the hurricane that blew through a couple days ago. So, you know,
Yeah.
there are those.
Right. But other than that, and the humidity,
Yeah.
what else is there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure
Well,
there's a nice breeze. I'm sure there's a nice breeze on that balcony up on the 52nd floor. So I'll take the humidity.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's the hardest thing to leave in California is the weather.
mhm.
There's a lot of arguments for other places, but like somebody sent me a picture of Colorado today because I have people moving to Colorado. There's like frost on the ground and it's August. So a little freak
Honestly,
storm came through.
There's like basically frost on the ground in my neighborhood sometimes.
Yeah.
The fog is just so intense during the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, the other day I was walking, I was babysitting a dog and dog sitting. We could hardly, like, the dog could hardly walk upwind. Like it was going to fly away because it just was like so intense. So
Or it was a really, really small dog.
Yeah, it's a tiny dog.
No, he was like dense. It was the corgi. It was like 20 pounds. I don't know. I could hardly walk. But yeah, so seeing that view doesn't look so bad.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But to start with only 10% down in a condo in San Francisco and over a number of years, parlay that into being able to use equity and everything to buy something there with no mortgage is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
that's the dream.
Yeah,
That's the dream.
It's
Mhm.
the dream.
Absolutely. How are you, Sean?
Sean, what's going on in the world of lending?
I'm good. Lending's fun. It seems though the deeper we get into this, it's getting tougher. So if you're self-employed, it's not the most fun world right now because there's so much fear over unemployment, and I think there was a stat that said 40% of the businesses on Yelp are going to be out of business. I'm a very kind of common sense, logical thinker. And so basically here's what happens. If you're self-employed, we have to qualify off your most recent filed tax return. So if you filed an extension for 2019, right, and so you wouldn't file till October, you have to provide a P&L for 2019 and a P&L for 2020 to show that your income is in line with where it was in 2018. If your income's worse on 2019 or 2018, they're going to use the P&L to qualify. If it's better on the P&L, we're going to use 2018. So it's very conservative, one-sided thinking. And if you either have to provide an audited P&L by a CPA, which is very expensive, or you have to provide 2 months of your business bank statements to support your P&L. We have to do this cash flow analysis, and there's all these moving parts to it. So it's not that fun. But it's that got
when
tighter.
when you say an audited P&L, so is that an independent accountancy firm that comes in and looks at your books other than your own bookkeeper, your own CPA, or do you go to your own CPA and get them to do that?
You could do it you could have it done by your CPA, but it does have to be a CPA, not an enrolled agent, not a tax preparer. They have to be a licensed, certified public accountant. And as an example of that, I have a client now. He's a builder in Silicon Valley. He's he's moving to Bend because he can, and with everything that's going on. He has an accountant and tax preparer basically pays him on a monthly basis to manage all of his books. Yesterday, this is when I found this guideline is that's not good enough. The fact that it's third party, the fact that this guy's compensated monthly to do it is not good enough. It has to be a CPA. And because we didn't have an invoice, so we didn't charge, because part of his fee on a monthly basis is to do things like this. Since there's not a separate invoice, they're not accepting it. So I have to go get bank statements now. It's more complicated than I ever think it should be. The big struggle here is all of us W-2 people work for self-employed people. So we have you know, all you have to do if you're an employee is show that you still have a job, and they check that box, knowing that we could all, if the self-employed guy closes his doors, then we don't have jobs. But that doesn't matter for some reason. If you're self-employed, there's more loops or hoops to jump through. So it's just what it is. That's kind of the negative side of things.
What about
Jumbo's
rates?
still fine. Jumbo rates have really stabilized and been good. I don't have an exact APR, so I will quote in a range, but the clients I'm working with are locking 30-year fixed jumbo loans between 2.875 and I'd say 3 up. It doesn't really go much deeper than 2.875. And I think the logic to that is if the money gets too cheap, the bank, you know, why would the bank take that risk? They could get a better return somewhere else. So I don't think we're going to see rates go lower than that on a 30-year fixed for jumbo. Conventional rates are kind of in the same range. I'd say that the conventional 30-year fix is probably in the high to like low twos, somewhere between like 2.99 and say 2.625, depending on what you're doing. For a primary residence, single family, not a condo. Condo is going to be about 0.25% higher. So rates are incredibly low still, which makes the money super affordable. And, you know, going to this mortgage-free dream we all have, I would love to have no mortgage to pay. But when you do the math on it, your cost of money at you know, this range is like 1.5 to 1.8% when you take into consideration your mortgage interest deduction and your property tax deduction. So it's really, I mean, it's almost like it'd be stupid not to have a mortgage because you could use those funds elsewhere. But yeah, that's really what we're seeing. The good thing that's happened is yesterday, one of the equity line lenders came back allowing, maybe it was 2 days ago, they're allowing 15% down up to about 1.48 million. So we don't have to have just 20 anymore. That opened up a little bit. So that was good news that we got this week. But yeah, so self-employed, a little bit challenging. If you're an employee, wonderful. If you're an employee that has a side job, you get to go through this whole self-employed thing too. I have a dental hygienist who is 1099. She works for 4 different doctors. She gets a 1099 from one of them. So I've been working through her P&L, which she's like, I don't, what's a P&L for? I just go to work. He just pays me this way. Yeah. So if you have a side gig or anything like that, we get to have a little bit of fun.
Wow. So they're basically, the lenders are just going to funnel you into if you fall into that category, they're going to stick you through the most conservative funnel they can get you through.
Right. If you can qualify without that self-employment income, then great, we can avoid it. But we still have to provide the most recent P&L to prove that your income hasn't declined, because if it's become a negative, we have to count the loss against you. So it's just the absolute most conservative approach if there's any type of self-employment income. And this is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Jumbo. This is not a guaranteed rate guideline. Mm-hmm. This is across the board.
Mm-hmm. And as far as kind of activity on applications and that kind of stuff, because our activity as far as buyers and sellers and stuff is definitely quite elevated. And so I would expect that there's got to be a jump in applications and everything on your end.
Yeah, applications refinances are still going. They're starting to trickle. Once rates plateau, the refis kind of mellow out, which is great. But for purchase applications, more people can afford to buy now. And people are saying, I don't want to wait for a lower price because if I can buy with these interest rates, the price isn't as big of a determining factor. So just look at the offers situations lately. And that's across the board. I have, with this kind of work from home migration happening, I have 2 transactions in Bend, Oregon. I just closed one in Colorado. I have one in Huntington Beach, and I got one in contract in Torrance today. So getting outside of the Bay Area, all multiple offers. The person in Torrance that got accepted today, this was their eighth try, and they've all been 15 to 20 offer situations. We finally got in.
These are probably marketplaces that aren't accustomed to that kind of activity, right? So
right.
We just had that, didn't we, Hayley, in Napa? where
Yeah.
they were basically, how many offers did that place get?
So yeah, I was going to bring that up because, you know, Sean, anecdotally, awesome. You're the lender for this particular situation and that we're going for in Napa. And, you know, the agent had said before I even presented the offer, she was, or, you know, just when I was talking to her initially, she was like, yeah, like the last 6 months have been really new for us in terms of like Napa being hot and people migrating out there. And like, she was like, you're coming from a place in the Bay Area, in, you know, San Francisco, where you're used to going 50, 100 over, you're used to multiple offers and, you know, really short terms or whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then, you know, lo and behold, like 4 offers, 2 cash, 2 non-contingent cash. It didn't go crazy over asking, from my understanding, but unfortunately we didn't win that one. But the other thing with that is that particular client was not in a position a couple months ago where they thought they were going to be able to buy. And now we are able to shop, and we're able to compete with cash. We are given the opportunity to compete with cash in like a second round for this house. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out, but because we were able to have the competitive terms like Sean, you were able to offer, we had that chance. And the seller was very close to being like, yeah, I'll go with these guys with the loan. So, and
the purchasing, mainly because the rates are so low, it gave them more purchasing power.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't want people to get discouraged because I'm hearing more and more the cash thing. And I thought it was just the old myth, but Hayley's kind of confirmed it over the last few weeks for me. But I mean, I had a VA 0 down offer accepted over an a cash full price offer. So, I mean, that's very rare, but I don't want people to be like, oh, if I have a loan, I'm going to lose. That's not necessarily the case. Hayley and I have been cash a bunch of times, but this is a new normal. When I called that specific listing agent in Napa, I always call to make sure that they understand that I'm not a variable, the loan's going to close, all that. She answered the phone. She's like, I'm sure you're a great lender and you're wonderful. I'll let you know if anything comes up. And that was it.
Oh my God.
And I was like, all right. So, and that's becoming, I had another guy who almost hung up on me. There was one in San Jose. There was 40 something offers. He's like, we have over 40 offers. So busy. Can't even talk to you right now.
Was it, I mean, is that kind of property? Cause I feel like every week you have these stories of like 20 plus offers. And frankly, like we're not seeing that. Yesterday we went up against 12 other offers on a property in Oakland, but it was like a super done, you know, excellent property. Like, do you feel like, and I don't know if you can answer this, are these properties just like vastly underpriced? Like what's going on? You know, 40 offers, I've never heard of anything like that.
No, it's the same. So that's, I will never understand the list it super, super low strategy. Because if I was a listing agent, and I get it, when you go to your next listing presentation, you get to say the last property I had over 40 offers. And maybe that's all it is as a marketing strategy. But if I was a listing agent, I don't want to dig through 40 offers when I know 10 of them, maybe 5, were actually of consideration.
Yeah. Right.
So I just don't understand. Like, remember when Shelter in Place started and they had transparent pricing? Like, well, why didn't we just stay with that? You know, it's life's so much easier for everyone that way.
It's interesting that you say that because, Eddie, I don't know if you were in the sales meeting yesterday, but the data is showing for San Francisco in particular that we're trending towards transparent pricing, which anecdotally I do not feel with what we are dealing with our particular clients. However, evidently that's what the data is showing. I think for July, if I'm not mistaken, we're showing 104% of list with the sale price, and a year ago it was 114%. So that's what the story is being told.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's...
But I think one of the reasons some of the data is going that way is I think there's it all depends on what kind of property you have in that regard, because there are a lot of like the amount of price reduction emails we get now it's intense every day.
Single family price reductions. Yeah. So,
and then when that motivates your market where you then get a buyer, the way the MLS data gets tracked is it based that, oh, that's sold at that list price, or it's sold, you know, a little bit above that list price. So that's where the marker is, and it doesn't actually, you know, track the fact that it was at this much higher number way before. So in a lot of ways, you know, there, and then there's, if you're in a condo right now, you really need to get noticed in the marketplace, because you're sitting on the highest level of inventory that there's been in San Francisco in 15 years. And, you know, I think a lot of the places that are going out with transparent pricing, when somebody has to make a decision on what place they're going to go look because they can't go to an open house, they're actually going to go look at the stuff that's priced on the lower end of the scale. And those ones are, I think, kind of running up. So it's, I don't know, it's the world that we're emerging from, and how real estate moves when nobody can do. Well, you're lucky enough, Sean, you can just drive around and socially distance from people in the van there. So you should you should put a glass window on one of the door panels so you can just sit inside the van, and if you have to meet a client, they can stay outside on the street.
Like a walk-up window, like at on a food truck.
Yeah. And just have a little bucket work that you slip through if they have to sign anything, you know.
Yeah. No, that's the biggest change in my world, is that I don't really get to see people anymore. You know, like with lending, I took a lot of pride in, I wouldn't really meet people till the end anyways, but going to signing appointments and things like that. And now it's like, you probably shouldn't be there, you know? So like, we got to minimize how many people are at the signing. So the realtors aren't going, lenders aren't going, just the notary. And so that's where I'm like, where do I want to move? You know, if this is what my new world's going to be, I don't know, maybe I don't want to be in the East Bay anymore. So it's been really interesting for sure, just looking how things change. But yeah, going back to the pricing, I think the one that had 40 something offers in San Jose, it was listed at like 800, and we knew it was going to go for at least 950 or over $1 million. And so I'm like, if everyone knows that, we can all go on Redfin and search data backwards if we don't have MLS access, get a pretty good idea of what this thing's going to sell for. So what's the point? I don't know. I wouldn't want to weed through 40 offers. And I think the reason I bring that up is it's discouraging. So what I've been telling the buyers I work with is think of looking for properties on Redfin, Trulia, Zillow, whatever you're using. Think of it like eBay. There's a minimum price, right? That's the starting bid, but the seller has a reserve that's somewhere up here, but you have no idea what it is. So we have to hit that reserve before they're going to sell. So if you bid down here, it's not going to matter. They only cared about this anyways. So that's how I'm trying to describe it to them. List does not mean ask, to make sure they don't get discouraged, because, and Hayley, to your point, the properties they're offering on are the, you know, I call them the restoration hardware house, where it's got the gray hardwood floors and the white marble and the white cabinets and the red door. Everybody wants that, you know? So you're gonna expect to have a lot of offers on those. And so I just am trying to make sure people don't get discouraged as they go through the process.
Yeah. The story is single families are hot, still hot.
Yeah, single families are hot, and condos, you gotta, there's some strategies, there's a way you gotta work it.
Yeah.
So, and that's where, you know, if anybody's hunting, looking for a deal right now, condos, I think, are coming into a, you know, a definite buy recommendation, because, you know, we're still going to be, as we talked earlier on the call, you know, when things kind of open up, our shortage of inventory and the fact that we haven't built enough housing in our area is going to come back to the process. Even if we are losing residents, the amount of people we would have to lose for us to fall into balance in that category is, you know, huge.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that problem will come back. And And anybody who's buying in condos at today's pricing is going to get a bump and a benefit from that. So.
For reference, in the last week, 147 new condos came on the market.
And how many condos sold in that week?
You have to give me 1 minute. But 61 new single families on that.
And then just anecdotally, we had another situation on a property in Oakland that was a developer property where there wasn't a lot of comps. Normally there would have been a ton of comps around this time of year for this kind of property. And so, you know, everybody's wondering kind of where's the value at for this, you know, AAA kind of premium kind of property, because it's all completely restoration hardware done, right? And they broke pre-COVID records for that area for that type of product. So
they've now set the stage.
They have now set the stage.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what we're not anybody. You know, it's the tale of two cities. You know, if you're in the condo market, hey, you have a lot to choose from, and everybody wants to work with you and do a bit of a deal. But if you're in a single family home, it's and you're selling that, then that's it, we're breaking records.
Yeah. So 54 condos closed in the last week. A lot of them are in districts. Sorry.
Well, so that means with what came on this week and what just sold, that means that's nearly a 3 month or the supply adding into what we already have.
Yeah, looking at the days on market for a lot of these, a lot of like 20, 30, 40, 50 plus days on the market. 51 single families closed.
And 60 came on. So tight.
Yeah.
3 times the inventory for condos for what sold in the week, and almost equal on what sold for single families and what came on.
Yeah. So I think the tune is like the theme of this season right now is stamina for buyers. If they're single family home buyers, we're just we're gonna, you know, we pride ourselves on like getting people in on a first or second offer for the most part, but right now that's really, it's tough. It's tough.
Well, I think a big part of it is obviously being the analytics guy is you have to go into it. Like some people are limited, but some people are coming back to this. I think it's worth this much mentality. And you have to look at, if rates were a little bit higher and prices were a little bit lower, what would I actually be spending? And I think if you do that comparison, then it kind of helps to justify, maybe I am going to get a little out of my comfort zone on the price, but the payment is fine, and over like appreciation over time, like going back to Alexis, right? 10% down in San Francisco turned into a cash free or a all cash purchase because time worked in his favor. So kind of looking at it from all sides, because I've had people like, I wouldn't pay that for that. I'm like, well, 10 other people will. So it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So just being a lot more strategic and really analyzing, I think, is really important. Like obviously there's emotions tied to it, but really looking at the numbers of, if I wait for this price that I have in my mind as being my affordability, what do rates look like then? Like this is what gave me this idea is I'm refinancing someone that bought a condo last year. His interest rate's 4.25%. He bought in June or July of last year and his rate's 4.25%. And now we're like, who would buy with 4.25%? That's crazy. That was 12 months ago.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Only a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only a year ago. Well, and we always try to tell people that there's a price that a property sells for, and there's a price that you will.
He was going to say a price that you're willing to pay, and sometimes they're the same, and sometimes they're not. You cut out.
Am I cutting out? Eddie.
Yeah. Right in the middle of the statement.
That's quite a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Right.
All right, well, cool. We're coming up on time. So, Sean, how do we find you? I love you of your email address in your nameplate there. So that's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's just really just tech ignorance, because I change it to my name all the time and it keeps defaulting back. So I guess it's working out. But that's my email. Or Adventure Lender on Instagram. I'm just all over the internet. So I'm just one Google search away.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks as always.
Mo,
Cool.
thank you guys. I love doing these with you guys.
We do too.
We do too.
And Hayley, when we're lost and in the dark, how do we find ourselves?
Elevationrealestate.com. That's where you can also find these recordings. They're posted in our blog. We also have our podcast on there as well. And we are on Instagram at Elevation RE.
And then
what about
the Elevation SF? And then what about the report that you were looking at there? You can sign up for that report too, right? Exactly, the weekly Souls report.
What we've been bringing up the last couple of weeks. You can get on our list, and we'll send that to you every Thursday. What are days?
It goes out on a Thursday morning.
Thursday morning. I'm like, what is today? Definitely let us know if you want to be on that list. It's really helpful if you are in the market or not in the market. It's just fun to look at, to see the top overbids, underbids, things that have been on the market for a while, over 30 days. So just let us know. We'll put you on there and you'll get it.
And then you can also look based on your neighborhood. Hey, I live in Bernal, and you can just look at Bernal and see what closed that week in Bernal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. All right.
All right.
Yeah, awesome. Happy Thursday.
See you next week.
All right, you guys. Thanks again.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Cheers.
All right, bye.